Unicron, the Dark God, a threat greater than the Decepticons in Transformers. Hello and welcome back to yet another amazing video by Marvelous Videos. I'm your host, Tia Ayer. We all have heard about the Transformers franchise and how they have risen to become one of the most famous franchises ever. Starting from their leader Optimus Prime's leadership to Bumblebee's snarky comments, we have grown to love them all. As we all know, they are a group of alien species who came to Earth to take refuge as their planet was being destroyed. And when they arrived, with them came evil Decepticons who wanted to take over Earth and make it their home planet. According to the movies, we have all been led to believe that the main danger to the Autobots is the Decepticons, and while it might be true, there lies a far greater danger out in space. The danger is none other than the Chaos Bringer, the World Eater, the monster planet Unicron. In today's video, we will be talking about how Unicron might as well be the greatest villain in the whole Transformers universe. So make sure you put on your seatbelts and get comfortable because this ride, it's going to be really bumpy. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
For a time, I considered sparing your wretched little planet Cybertron.
Who is Unicron? Exploring the origins of the Chaos Bringer. Unicron. That name sounds familiar, right? Now, it might sound similar to something which looks like a horse and has a horn on its head and leaves a rainbow trail. But trust me, Unicron is far different from any of that. Unicron's character was first introduced in the franchise as the arch-villain in the 1986 The Transformers, the movie. Unicron was a giant transforming metal planet with an insane appetite for power and other planets. His only goal was to devour all life in existence. So wait, he's basically the Galactus of this universe? Wow! He possessed vast cosmic powers, which were more than often used to empower lesser beings, from whom he considered to be weak and fragile. He used to make them serve him as his herald in return for these powers. Not only did he have the power to give, but he had the power to take away powers as well. And if someone tried to trick or betray him, they would soon find their body turning and twisting painfully before being turned into a ball of metal, instantly finishing them forever. In his many appearances, the one main weakness that he seemed to have had was the Autobot matrix of leadership. Unicron during production and his toy figurines. During production, Unicron was not originally his real name. At first he was known as the Entity, and then later Ingestor, before he finally settled on the name Unicron. Unicron was designed by none other than the artist Floro Derry, explaining why his character looks amazing in all his appearances. With his huge metal body and two skeleton-like wings behind his back, his character is the proper representation of a villain in our opinion. Unfortunately for his toy figurines, they did not seem to meet the same fate as the artwork, as they were scrapped off due to the design looking too bland and never seen release. We were robbed.
Marvelous! Look! It's Unicron!
Unicron in the 1986 movie and Season 3 of Transformers. The movie The Transformers. The movie was set in the year 2005, where we were shown Unicron setting his sight on the Transformers' homeworld, Cybertron. To eliminate the threat posed by the Matrix, he used his powers to completely change and reformat the Decepticon leader, Megatron, into Galvatron, and send him on the journey to destroy it. All was going according to plan at first, but soon Galvatron rebelled, enabling the Autobot leader Nemesis Prime to open the Matrix inside of Unicron, destroying him from inside out. The film concluded with Unicron's severed head falling into the orbit of Cybertron, and due to its continuation, it remained there in the subsequent third season of the Transformers animated series. In the course of the third season, it was revealed to the audience that Unicron was still functioning, and the Autobots had to stop him from his attempt to use Cybertron as his new body. Not only can Unicron survive with his head get severed, but he can also use other planets to use them as his own body. While the movie had given no hint of Unicron's origins or real motives, the cartoon series explained that Unicron was once the rebellious creation of an alien scientist named Primacron, who had built him to search the galaxy for life, leaving him a blank slate on which Primacron could experiment. If you guys have watched the movie, you would definitely remember his heavy and mechanical voice, which seemed really familiar to someone in real life, right? This is because Unicron's voice was provided by cinematic legend Orson Welles himself.
I considered sparing your wretched little planet Cybertron.
But for his appearances in the cartoon, Roger C. Carmel voiced the character. The movie was a super hit and it was hugely influential on the Marvel Transformers comic, which was published in the United Kingdom, for which writer Simon Furman crafted original stories, which were a continuation of the film's events, but they were totally not connected to the cartoon series. The Legacy of Unicron. In the 1988s, The Legacy of Unicron, it was revealed to the whole world that in the comics continuity, instead of entering Cybertron's orbit, Unicron's head had been flung to the planet of Junk, where he soon used his powers and enslaved millions of residents to the planet known as Junkions to build him a new body. For the storyline, Simon Furman created a totally different origin for the comic book variant of Unicron, where instead of being a mere robot who destroyed everything, he was a literal god, a dark god to be precise. He was a primordial being of chaos from the very beginning of time and was known as the enemy of all life. Not only did he change his storyline, but they also made him even stronger and gave him an even better storyline, as if he was not overpowered already. It's like they want him to show up in the live-action movies. Anyhow, let's look into his past now. A long time ago, Unicron's nemesis known as Primus, the god of light, had sought to end their eternal battle by trapping them both in two different asteroids. But as we all know, we cannot have a good story without a twist. So, Unicron, over time, used his powers to reshape the asteroid itself, shaping it into the planet depicted in the movie. Oh, but you must be wondering what happened to Primus. After all, every evil being must have an opposite to fight. Well, it was revealed that Primus too used his powers and turned himself into none other than the home planet of the Transformers, Cybertron. That is where he gave birth to the Transformers and created the Matrix to give his powers a vessel. That is why Unicron so desperately wanted to destroy Cybertron and why the Matrix was so deadly even to him. The story ended when Nemesis Prime trapped Unicron's evil life force into the Matrix, but this would soon return to bite Rodimus in the butt, as it would keep on coming back to haunt him for the rest of the series. It would keep interfering with his life and make him borderline crazy. Simon Furman and his introduction of Unicron into the American comic book. Soon after the previous stories were released and were a super hit in his comic book career, Simon Furman took over the writing of the American comic books. He immediately introduced Unicron and Primus into it, revisiting his old stories and then retelling the origin from the UK comic and crafting a brand new climatic Unicron storyline for the series, set in the then present day of 1990, rather than the future seen in the movie. The saga revolved around Unicron and his mischiefs and culminated in Optimus Prime using the Matrix to destroy the Chaos Bringer. Soon, fans came together to consider the comic book's comic origin of Unicron superior to the cartoons, and it would become the baseline for the vast majority of Unicron storylines and variants, and this would go on for several decades.
Begin termination sequence.
Unicron in Beast Wars. Unicron enjoyed a few significant cameos in Beast Wars, but the most significant one was when the alien Vok briefly adopted his form, but his first true return to television took place in the Japanese exclusive Beast Wars cartoons. In 1988's Beast Wars 2, a mysterious energy known as Angomois was introduced, which was found on post-apocalyptic Earth by the Predacon commander Galvatron. Even though the whole storyline glossed over this energy, it did not really answer what it was, until 1999's Beast Wars Neo revealed that this mysterious energy called Angomois was, in fact, the previously destroyed Unicron's disembodied life force, reunited by his servants, the Blentrons. Unicron's life force possessed Galvatron and instantly launched a deadly attack on Cybertron, almost turning the planet into his new body. He was nearly successful with this, as the planet soon started growing horns like him. But fortunately or unfortunately, big convoy and his Matrix Buster purged his body. After this release date, a brand new Unicron toy was designed for the Beast Wars Neo storyline, but just as in Generation 1, or as we call it G1, the toy figure was never released and only reached the prototype stage. After such massive blows to his toy figures, the idea of making a toy on him was kept at bay until 2003. In 2003, Unicron would finally be getting his own toy form as the 16-inch tall crown jewel of the Transformers Armada toy line. Transformers Armada. Transformers Armada came with another new origin for Unicron, and this was really amazing as the last one had not been changed in over a decade, except for minute changes in details. In this new storyline and origin, Unicron and Primus were a pair of transforming robotic planets, created at the very beginning of time by an extra-dimensional being known as the One. They were made for the sole purpose of exploring the universe, but soon in the lust for power, Unicron turned evil. This series saw Unicron strike at the Transformers subtly. In the distant past, he disguised himself as one of Cybertron's moons and secretly created Minicrons from his own body. The Minicrons were tiny power-enhancing robots that the Transformers went to war to possess, allowing the hibernating Unicron to feed on the hatred and aggression of their conflict physically. In the final arc of the series, subtitled The Unicron Battles, Unicron was awakened to complete his task of destroying Cybertron by his servant known as Sideways, but yet again was defeated when the Minicrons turned on him, and the Autobots and the Decepticons laid down their weaponry, thereby depriving Unicron of the power of hatred, which was fueling his strength. Unicron's appearance in Armada marked the beginning of a major resurgence for the character, who went on to be a part of almost every major storyline of the Transformers media for the next several years. Multiple toy lines, cartoons, comic books, and much, much more were made on him, and most prominent were the two direct sequels to Armada, namely the 2004's Transformers Energon and 2005's Transformers Cybertron. The three series were collectively known as the Unicron trilogy.
I kinda like Unicron without his head. Reminds me of Halloween.
Yeah, he took the Headless Horseman to a whole new level.
Discussing Transformers, Energon, and Transformers Cybertron. Energon revolved around the theme of the Autobots' struggle to prevent the Decepticons from repairing Unicron's damaged and deactivated body, represented by a re-release of his Armada toy with a new black color scheme. This changing of color strategy is an ongoing trend in the Transformers franchise, where the evil characters are always given a backlash or violetish scheme to make them look eviler. Megatron soon sought to use the one and only Chaos Bringer as a weapon, but little did he know that he was a baby in front of Unicron. The repaired Unicron soon ended up possessing the Decepticons' leader, until he was destroyed in a tremendous battle with a Primus-empowered Optimus Prime. This series of events led to the next part of the series, Cybertron. In Cybertron, the destruction of Unicron resulted in the automatic formation of a humongous black hole that was so big that it was capable of eating up the whole universe. Although Unicron himself did not make an appearance in Cybertron, the remains of his body, which were later on forged into a powerful armor by Megatron, were shown to be nearly indestructible. And even though this character was not shown in the cartoon, a new smaller Unicron toy with an alien tank alternate mode was released in the Cybertron toy line. It was featured in the tie-in comic published by the Transformers Collectors Club, which was created when one of the Unicron servants named Soundwave recovered his Master Spark from within the black hole and implanted it within the planet YST, which allowed Unicron to corrupt the planet and feed upon it to generate a new body for himself. During the Unicron trilogy years, the 2004 guidebook, Transformers: The Ultimate Guide, dramatically changed how fans viewed Unicron forever, building upon the ideas introduced in the Armada comic book and 2003's Transformers universe. Both shown Unicron as having so much power that he could move in between dimensions. The book made the declaration that across all the different Transformers universes there was only one Unicron, a single being who traveled from dimension to dimension in search for more power. Wait, so it means that all his appearances, every single one, as in the movie, the series, the cartoons, in all of his appearances, it was the same Unicron that we saw from the first get-go? Mind-blowing. So that means that even after numerous tries, Unicron still could not technically beat Primus, but he for sure did more damage than good, as he is clearly the most feared being of all time in the Transformers franchise, with even Quintessa being afraid of his powers. If he waited a little bit longer and kept on devouring more planets, he would definitely be a lot stronger. After all these hits, one after another, Unicron took a back seat for the remainder of the 2000s, appearing rarely and being noticeably absent for many of the major Transformers series that premiered during this time. It was not until 2011 when he returned back for his next big mainstream role in the Transformers Prime animated series, but it was not as it was expected, as his comeback came with a caveat, not wanting to be restricted by his past origin stories and other roles in the franchise. Hasbro specifically stated that the Unicron depicted in this animated series, Transformers Prime, was a totally different Unicron that had been depicted in the previous movies and series. It meant that he was not the multiversal singularity from the other stories, which gave this variant of Unicron a fresh start and a lot of potentials to be developed further. And even though the guidebook tried to explain how this was possible, the loopholes and cracks were still showing in the concept's workability, and eventually, the club retired the idea in a 2015 story that saw Nemesis Prime use the power of a device known as the Start Saber to eliminate singularities from existence. This incident made it so that every variant of Unicron and every appearance of him in every universe was its own distinct version again, free to be depicted however the creators liked. And indeed, in Transformers Prime, a new and probably the most dramatic take on Unicron was pursued. His shadow peered over the series from the onset in the form of Dark Energon, an addictive, unholy energy source formed from Unicron's very blood that it had such powers that it could even reanimate the dead. Damn, this character just keeps on getting better, and we are not complaining. But do you want to know something which will absolutely blow your minds away? Well, grab onto your seats because this is for sure going to be causing you whiplash. Following his defeat at the hands of Primus in ancient times, Unicron's body was left floating in space, where it soon fit the criteria to give rise to living beings. And so it did. The body soon turned into a planet, and the planet was none other than the one we live on. Yes, that's right. He became Earth, revived in the present day by a planetary alignment. Unicron's reawakening not only threatened to wipe out all of humanity, but also caused terror all around the cosmos. That is why Optimus Prime fought his way through different avatars of Unicron, created from his body on Earth itself, to reach the planet's core and unleash the power of the Matrix, forcing the Chaos Bringer to break down and revert back to his dormant state. After his defeat, Unicron yet again appeared in the final series finale. He possessed Megatron to attack Cybertron with a legion of reanimated Predacons, but after a long battle he finally defeated Forever, well, at least in the series, when Optimus Prime imprisoned his disembodied spark, causing him to lose all of his powers yet again. Hasbro would soon release a figurine of Unicron, but it was not as you would have expected. This toy figurine was not exactly Unicron. Instead, it was Megatron who was being possessed by Unicron. And trust me, this figurine looked cool as hell. But do not worry, another figurine exclusive to Japan was released when Unicron had his own body and could transform from his elemental avatar to a volcano spaceship. Unicron and his debut in the Transformers live-action movies. As we all know and have quite literally grown up watching the Transformers movies, we are all quite familiar with how amazing the storylines are and the characters can be in the Transformers franchise, starting from having Megan Fox being our first crush to giggling uncontrollably when we heard the name Sam Witwicky. We have experienced it all, and as all of you might know, the Transformers live-action movies are just getting bigger and better, and so are their storylines. The concept of the Autobots fighting Decepticons so that the Decepticons could not take over Earth and turn it into Cybertron was fairly old to us. But the latest movie, Transformers: The Last Knight, gave us a whole new perspective and even bigger world to explore. In the 2017's live-action movie, The Last Knight, it was stated that the planet that they were living on, known as Earth, could actually be Unicron, just like the previous story we talked about, though he seemed to remain dormant throughout the movie. will Unicron be an integral part of the Transformers Rise of the Beasts? With Paramount just releasing the news that Transformers Rise of the Beast will be the first of the 3 movie trilogies based on Beast Wars, many fans are still questioning who the real villain might be and how his character could be introduced in the movie, as Paramount has not really released an official notice on either of the above. As we have seen from the teaser and other official pages, the Terracons are a big part of this movie. As we all know, the Terracons first appeared in G1. They were later adapted in Transformers Prime as well, except instead of being robots that feature beast modes as their original forms, they were basically reincarnated zombies brought to life by Dark Energon. If we all remember, Dark Energon was none other than the Unicron's variant, and many fans speculate that's because of this. Unicron might be the main antagonist in the upcoming movie. Not only this, there are different signs of Optimus Prime's new truck design, which greatly resemble his design in the Beast Wars series, meaning that he might just turn into it during a fight or at the climax of the movie during the final war. There are many other hints, primarily from stills from the movie, which show that the leader of the Terracons, Scourge, is carrying the Unicron symbol on his hood. Although the main plot of the movie is being kept under tight wraps, there is a high chance that Unicron might just force the Maximals and the Autobots to join forces in order to defeat the Chaos Bringer. Honestly, if Unicron does come out to be the main villain, we will be ready to say, "We told you so."
And what would a Prime be so compelled to say to me?
Unicron's relation to one of Optimus Prime's deadliest foes. Many of you might not know this, but Unicron himself was a genius and had several servants throughout his whole life, whom have either made or gave better bodies to work under him. But there was one who stands out above all, and he was the Nemesis Prime. Nemesis Prime was one of Unicron's greatest creations ever. He was created as an exact replica of Optimus Prime, but with the intent of destroying all life on Earth and throughout the galaxy. Nemesis Prime has appeared in several comic books and animated series like Transformers Armada, and has had numerous toy figures made of him. Like his creator, Nemesis is the embodiment of pure evil and shares the same dark intent of destroying all life. Not only has he beaten the Autobots and Decepticons multiple times, but he also has the power to travel through time and does not rely on anyone other than himself. In fact, Nemesis was one of the few who was so strong that he made Optimus Prime and Megatron join forces in order to even come close to beating him. Oof, so cold. Unicron and his powers. As we just saw, Unicron has some impressive powers that even the mightiest of the mightiest might fear clashing against. So we Bravehearts here to note down the terrifying powers of the Chaos Bringer. First up, we have shapeshifting. Changing his shape from a planet to a literal being of destruction is a feat not many can achieve, except for him and his twin brother Primus. He has never had a proper cannon size, but as all the databooks state, he is a being who is planet-sized. Unicron also has the power to possess beings and corrupt their minds, as we have seen him possess Megatron or turn him into Galvatron to do his dirty work, making it clear that his brain is just as powerful as his body. Another instance of his utter brilliance is when he created Nemesis Prime. Unicron literally has the intelligence to create other living beings and control them as he wishes. And not only was Nemesis Prime a mere creation, but also had the power to destroy reality itself. Think about that. Although Unicron does not show his power in every appearance, he can also break through universes and travel right through them. And before all the singularities were erased, he was the one and only being who could achieve such feats with such ease. Last but not least, Unicron has the power to give and take, meaning he can bless others with powers unimaginable. But if they were to go against him, they would be stripped of their powers, and there was not much that they could do to stop him from devouring them. As we all know, Unicron just gets stronger after each planet that he devours. Honestly, all of these terrifying powers are just the very beginning, and we are sure that there is much more to him than shown yet. Conclusion. After doing a thorough run-through over most of his appearances and feats, we can easily say that Unicron is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, in the entire Transformers franchise, with only his brother Primus to rival him. His character has so much to offer, and if the movies can show even a minute amount of his powers, they will do justice to his character. We would say that he is neither underrated nor overrated. He is just at the right place, and we really hope that he makes a huge appearance in the next movie, as it would be the greatest plot in all of the franchise. If you like this video and want more videos like this, click on the subscribe button and check out the rest of the videos that we have posted. Adios, amigos. Take care. And finally, powering off.